Do you feel it? That constant hum of anxiety, the subtle pressure to be everywhere at once, to care about everything everyone else seems to care about? Are you perpetually pulled in 1,000 different directions? Your focus scattered like dust motes in a sunbeam, never quite settling on anything substantial? Do you find yourself measuring your worth against an ever shifting, invisible yardstick held by others, adjusting your thoughts, your actions, even your feelings based on anticipated reactions or fleeting trends? Take a moment, truly feel the weight of that expectation, the exhaustion of trying to keep up, to please everyone, to care about every outrage, every opinion, every curated highlight reel flashing across your screens. It's a relentless tide, isn't it? It promises connection, relevance, belonging, but often leaves you feeling adrift, overwhelmed, and strangely empty. You pour your limited energy into countless external vessels, hoping to fill some internal void, only to find the vessels are leaky and the void remains. What if I told you that the path to genuine strength, to profound peace, and to an unshakable sense of self lies not in caring more, but in strategically, courageously, and intelligently caring less? This isn't about cultivating apathy, becoming cynical, or shutting down your emotions. It's about a radical act of reclaiming your most precious resources: your time, your energy, your attention, and your emotional investment. It's about understanding that your capacity to care is finite, like a well with a limited supply of water. If you spend that water indiscriminately, watering every weed, every pebble, every patch of barren ground, you'll have none left for the plants you actually want to grow. This truth is disruptive because it flies in the face of so much modern conditioning, which tells us we should care about everything, be outraged by everything, engage with everything. It promises not a withdrawal from life, but a deeper, more potent engagement with the parts of it that truly matter. This is an urgent, unflinching look at where your care is currently flowing, and a promise to reveal how you can redirect that vital current towards building a life of substance and meaning, free from the tyranny of the trivial. The core concept we must confront is not the absence of caring, but the mastery of selective indifference. It is the conscious, deliberate choice of what to invest your limited emotional and mental energy in, and perhaps more importantly, what not to. This idea, while having roots in ancient philosophies like Stoicism, which urged focus on what is within our control and indifference to what is not, finds a powerful modern articulation in the work popularized by author Mark Manson. He challenges the pervasive cultural narrative that we must constantly strive for positivity, happiness, and external validation, arguing instead for the necessity of embracing struggle and choosing what problems we are willing to have. At its heart, selective indifference is about understanding that your capacity to care is a finite resource, like a battery with a limited charge or a muscle that can tire. Every time you choose to care deeply about something, whether it's a genuine injustice, a personal goal, or a stranger's fleeting opinion on the internet, you expend a portion of that finite energy. In our current age, this concept is not merely interesting, it is absolutely critical for psychological survival and flourishing. We live in an era of unprecedented information overload and constant digital connectivity. Social media platforms are designed to capture and hold our attention by presenting an endless stream of stimuli: curated lives, manufactured outrage, urgent notifications, and personalized advertisements, all vying for our emotional response. Algorithms are specifically tuned to identify what triggers us, what holds our attention, what makes us care, often about things that are ultimately trivial or outside our sphere of influence. We're bombarded by the perceived expectations of others, filtered through likes, comments, and shares. This environment creates a constant low-grade anxiety, a feeling that we must be perpetually on, perpetually engaged, perpetually caring about everything happening everywhere. Without the filter of selective indifference, our limited capacity to care is quickly overwhelmed, diluted, and squandered on noise, leaving us with insufficient energy for the people, values, and pursuits that genuinely nourish our souls and contribute to a meaningful life.
Selective indifference is far more nuanced than simple apathy or cynicism. It's not about suppressing your ability to feel or connect. It's about refining it, focusing it like a laser beam rather than scattering it like a floodlight. It's the difficult, courageous work of identifying your deepest values, the principles, people, and pursuits that give your life authentic meaning, and then consciously choosing to direct your care, your energy, and your attention towards those things, while actively, even ruthlessly letting go of the myriad others that do not serve those values. Most people miss this distinction. They see not caring about something as a failure of empathy or engagement. But true selective indifference requires a higher form of engagement with your own internal landscape, your values, and your limited capacity. It requires self-respect, respecting your own energy enough not to waste it on things that drain you without providing substance. It's the difference between being passively swept away by every current and actively steering your vessel towards a chosen destination. It's not about not caring. It's about caring wisely. Imagine your life force, your mental and emotional energy as a carefully contained garden plot. This plot is finite. It has limited space, limited sunlight, limited nutrients, and limited water. What you choose to plant in this garden determines what will grow and what kind of harvest you will yield. If you indiscriminately allow every seed that blows in on the wind to take root, the seed of a stranger's fleeting criticism, the seed of outrage over a distant, uncontrollable event, the seed of anxiety about keeping up with a trend, the seed of worrying about someone else's opinion of your shoes, your garden quickly becomes overgrown. These are the weeds. They are easy to plant, often requiring no conscious effort. They simply arrive and take root if you let them. They are invasive, spreading quickly, and they relentlessly consume the finite resources of your garden. The sunlight of your attention, the water of your emotional energy, the nutrients of your mental focus. As the weeds proliferate, they choke out the possibility of growing anything of true value. The seeds you want to plant, the seed of a deep, meaningful relationship, the seed of mastering a challenging skill, the seed of contributing to a cause you believe in, the seed of cultivating inner peace require careful tending. They need dedicated space, consistent watering, and focused nourishment. But if your garden is overrun with the weeds of trivial concerns, external validation seeking, and uncontrollable anxieties, there is simply no room, no light, and no energy left for these valuable plants to flourish. Selective indifference is the practice of becoming a vigilant gardener of your inner world. It is the conscious act of identifying the weeds as soon as they appear, recognizing a thought or external demand as something that does not serve your core values, and pulling it out before it takes root and drains your resources. It is the discipline to say, "This does not belong in my garden," and redirect your precious water and sunlight towards the plants you have consciously chosen to cultivate. This metaphor highlights the active, ongoing nature of the practice. The weeds will always appear, but your mastery lies in your commitment to tending your garden, ensuring that your limited, precious capacity to care is directed only towards that which will yield a harvest of meaning, growth, and genuine fulfillment. Why do we struggle so much with this? Why do we find ourselves caring compulsively about things that actively harm us or drain our energy? The roots run deep within our psychology and evolutionary history. For millennia, belonging to a tribe was essential for survival. Being ostracized meant potential death. This hardwired a deep need for social acceptance and a sensitivity to the opinions of others. Our brains developed to constantly scan the social environment, seeking approval and fearing rejection. This ancient mechanism, while once vital, is maladaptive in the modern world, particularly online, where the tribe is now millions of strangers whose opinions have no real bearing on our physical survival. Yet our brains react as if they do. We are psychologically primed for people-pleasing and seeking external validation because it once signaled safety and belonging.
Furthermore, our brains are wired for novelty and threat detection. The constant stream of information, particularly negative or sensational news and social media drama, triggers our threat response and captures our attention. Caring about it feels urgent, even if it's unproductive. The variable rewards of social media, the unpredictable likes and comments, tap into the same dopamine pathways as gambling.
creating an addictive loop where we constantly seek external affirmation, reinforcing the habit of caring excessively about how we are perceived. The anxiety of uncertainty also plays a role. In a complex world, caring about external opinions or trends can feel like a way to anchor ourselves, to feel like we belong or are right, even if that anchor is unstable and external. Our ego, too, craves validation and recognition, making us disproportionately sensitive to criticism or lack of attention. These underlying psychological mechanisms conspire to make indiscriminate caring the default state for many, trapping them in a cycle of external reactivity and internal depletion. Consider Alex, a graphic designer in their late 20s. Alex grew up feeling somewhat overlooked and discovered early on that being agreeable and seeking external approval provided a sense of temporary belonging. Now, Alex spends hours meticulously crafting their online presence, curating the perfect photos, writing witty captions, carefully choosing which opinions to share based on perceived trends. The problem manifests as a compulsive need to check notifications. A low number of likes on a post can ruin their mood for hours. A critical comment, even from a stranger, feels like a personal attack, triggering rumination and self-doubt. Do you find yourself measuring your worth by digital approval, letting the ebb and flow of likes dictate your emotional state? The devastating long-term consequence for Alex is a profound loss of authenticity. They struggle to know what they genuinely think or feel as their internal compass has been replaced by an external one calibrated to the fickle winds of online trends. Real-life relationships suffer because the energy is spent performing online, and the anxiety of potential disapproval makes genuine vulnerability difficult. Alex is exhausted, living a life designed to please an invisible audience rather than one aligned with their own quiet desires. Then there is Ben, a project manager who is widely regarded as helpful and reliable at work. Ben's childhood involved navigating the unpredictable moods of a parent who valued compliance above all else. As an adult, Ben unconsciously equates saying no with risking disapproval or conflict. The problem manifests in Ben's inability to set boundaries. They automatically agree to every request, take on extra work even when overloaded, and never voice dissent even when they know a decision is flawed. Ben's calendar is overflowing, their workdays stretch late into the night, and their weekends are eaten up by favors for colleagues or acquaintances. Is your calendar filled with commitments you dread because you couldn't bring yourself to say no, fearing disapproval? The devastating long-term consequence for Ben is severe burnout and a quiet resentment that simmers beneath the surface. Colleagues, sensing no boundaries, continue to pile on work. Ben feels trapped, indispensable yet undervalued, exhausted yet unable to stop the cycle. Their personal life shrinks, hobbies are abandoned, and the energy needed for rest and rejuvenation is constantly depleted by caring too much about not disappointing others. Finally, meet Chloe, a bright and curious student who loves learning but struggles to form her own convictions. Chloe is highly susceptible to the opinions of those around her and the information she consumes. The problem manifests as a constant shifting of her views. One week, she passionately argues for one perspective after reading an article. The next week, she adopts a completely different stance after a conversation with a friend or watching a documentary. She fears being wrong or appearing uninformed, so she defaults to echoing the loudest or most recent voice she's heard. Do you find yourself echoing the loudest voices around you, even if they conflict with your gut feeling, afraid to stand alone in your thoughts? The devastating long-term consequence for Chloe is a lack of internal stability and intellectual confidence. She struggles to engage in deep, nuanced discussions because she hasn't done the hard work of integrating information and forming her own reasoned conclusions. She feels like an imposter, always performing intellectual agreement rather than expressing genuine understanding. This makes her vulnerable to manipulation and prevents her from developing the strong, independent thinking required for true intellectual growth and contribution. These are just glimpses into the immense, often hidden cost of indiscriminate caring. It's not just emotional fatigue, it's the squandering of your potential, the erosion of your authenticity, the sacrifice of your most valuable resource, your life force, on the altar of external validation and trivial concerns. It leaves you feeling hollowed out, reactive, and perpetually behind, chasing an ever-receding horizon of external approval while your own inner world lies fallow. The cost is measured in stagnant growth, unfulfilled potential, strained relationships, and a nagging sense that you are living a life dictated by everyone but yourself. It is the ultimate form of self-neglect disguised as engagement or conscientiousness. The path to reclaiming your energy and directing your care wisely is not easy. It is countercultural, demanding courage and a willingness to stand apart. It requires confronting deep-seated fears and challenging lifelong habits. But it is the path to genuine liberation. True freedom in this context is not the absence of responsibility or care, but the freedom to choose what you care about. True strength is the discipline to direct your limited energy towards building a life aligned with your values rather than reacting to the endless demands of the external world. It is the strength to withstand the discomfort of not caring about things others deem important, the strength to disappoint some people, and the strength to tolerate the anxiety of focusing inward. The first principle on this path is to identify your values. What? This means consciously defining the 3 to 5 core principles, people, or pursuits that genuinely matter most to you. These are the anchors of your existence, the non-negotiables that give your life meaning and direction. Why? Your values serve as your internal compass. In a world of overwhelming options and competing demands, they provide a clear framework for deciding what is worth your limited care and what is not. They ground you amidst the noise and provide a stable point of reference when external pressures threaten to pull you off course. How? Dedicate quiet time to introspection. Journaling can be incredibly powerful here. Ask yourself, when have I felt most authentically myself? What problems in the world genuinely stir something within me? What principles would I absolutely refuse to compromise on, even under pressure? Who were the people I would drop everything for? Look for recurring themes and feelings of deep resonance. Write down the 3 to 5 core values that emerge. Keep them visible. Challenges? This process can be challenging because it requires distinguishing between values you genuinely hold and those you've been conditioned to think you should hold. It can also be uncomfortable to realize that your current life might not be aligned with your true values, necessitating difficult changes. The second principle is to practice intentional disregard. What? This is the active, conscious choice not to engage with, worry about, or invest emotional energy in things that do not align with your identified core values. Why? Your attention and emotional energy are finite resources, like the limited space and nutrients in our garden metaphor. Every moment spent caring about trivialities, external judgments, or uncontrollable events is a moment stolen from the things that truly matter. Intentional disregard is the active defense of your focus and emotional well-being. How? When you encounter something, a social media post, office gossip, a minor inconvenience, someone's unsolicited criticism, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, does caring about this serve one of my core values? Is engaging with this contributing to the life I want to build, or is it a distraction? If the answer is no, consciously label it, mentally or even verbally, as not my garden, not my problem, or not worth my care. Then deliberately redirect your attention and energy towards something that does align with your values. This also involves practicing saying no, politely but firmly, to requests or obligations that would drain your energy without serving your core priorities. Challenges? This practice is difficult because it goes against our ingrained habits of reactivity and people-pleasing. The fear of missing out, FOMO, or the discomfort of setting boundaries can be intense. It can feel unnatural, even wrong, to consciously choose not to care about something that seems to demand your attention.
The third principle is to embrace discomfort as a signal. What? Recognize that the feelings of discomfort, anxiety, or even loneliness that arise when you set boundaries, face criticism for your choices, or choose your own path over external approval are not signs that you are doing something wrong, but often signals that you are growing and challenging old patterns. Why? Growth rarely happens within the confines of your comfort zone.
Choosing selective indifference means accepting that you cannot please everyone and that some people may disapprove or misunderstand your choices. This discomfort is the friction created when you prioritize your internal compass over external expectations. It is the necessary resistance encountered when you are forging a stronger, more authentic self. How? When you feel the urge to revert to old patterns, people-pleasing, seeking validation, getting drawn into drama, notice the physical and emotional sensations of discomfort. Instead of immediately acting to alleviate it, for example by seeking reassurance or engaging in the drama, pause and sit with the feeling. Label it. This is the feeling of choosing my values over external approval. Reframe it. This discomfort is a signal that I am challenging a deep-seated habit and building internal strength. Celebrate these moments of discomfort as evidence of progress. Challenges. Our deep-seated aversion to negative emotions makes us want to avoid this discomfort at all costs. The temptation to revert to old, comfortable, even if destructive, patterns is strong. It can feel lonely when your choices lead you down a path different from those around you. The friction you feel, the awkwardness of saying no, the sting of potential disapproval, the occasional loneliness that comes from living by your own compass and choosing not to care about the noise. This is not failure. It is the sound of the chains of external expectation breaking. It is the necessary resistance encountered when you are building something real and strong within yourself. It is the signal that you are no longer passively drifting, but actively steering your life. The true art isn't about not caring at all. It's about the difficult, courageous, and profoundly liberating skill of mastering what you care about. It is the conscious reclamation of your most precious resources, your time, your energy, your focus, your emotional life, from the endless, often trivial demands of the external world. It is the active choice to invest your limited capacity to care into building a life of substance, meaning, and genuine connection anchored by your deepest values. You stand at a crossroads. Will you continue to be tossed by every wave of external opinion, every fleeting trend, every manufactured outrage, your energy scattered and depleted? Or will you begin the disciplined, courageous, and genuine connection anchored by your deepest values? What is one thing you have been giving too much care to that you are ready to begin the process of letting go of starting today?